Hello guys, my name is Relocating if you're new on this channel, and in this video I'll be sharing with you 10 truths no one tells you about relocating abroad. We all know that it's a season where many people are relocating out of Africa, especially my country, Nigeria, and it is important that before you leave your country, you acclimatize yourself with these truths so that you can be physically and mentally prepared for the pros and cons. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. So my first truth here will be know your why. Yes, of course, there are many reasons why people relocate. One being for reunion with your family, job opportunities, another being for education. Yeah, I'm not talking about those whys. The why I'm talking about is you must sit down and count the cost. Of course, many of us think that traveling abroad is just all good, no disadvantages attached to it. But it is important we know that for everything that has an advantage, there's always a disadvantage. And if you're not prepared enough, or if you're not well informed, you could end up giving up when it comes to the challenges that come along the way. So it is important that you sit back and know your why. For example, there are things you should consider, like what kind of job am I going over there to do? Is it going to be more profitable for me over there than here? Or okay, I'm just going for academics, and if things look good, I could stay. It is important that you don't just jump at the opportunity of traveling out. First, sit back to count the cost. Be assured, be certain in yourself that this is the next step your life needs to move forward. That's traveling abroad is going to be profitable to you instead of being a loss. You know what I mean? I would not deceive you. Many people are already exhausted, and the only reason why they don't want to go back to their country is maybe because they had spent all they had while coming and there's nothing to fall back to, and you don't want to be in that scenario where some people are feeling like, oh, my country is better. Count your cost before taking a hinge out of the country so that you're prepared for any challenges that come your way. As we continue this video, I'll be sharing different experiences that talk more on this. So stick with me while we go to the next discussion. So my next point here would be manage your expectations. I'm going to start with my expectations. Before I traveled down to Europe, I thought that, we heard many stories, many persons telling us when you travel out of the country, there is data everywhere. It's like heaven, the way it is presented, like you can easily make money, academics is good, everything just feels good. It's so exciting. And so when I traveled out of the country, I was expecting these things. I expected that once I jump out of the plane, my phone will just automatically connect to the Wi-Fi and I'm gonna have data. I don't have to buy a SIM, not to talk of buying subscription and all of those stuff. So I was expecting a lot. My expectation was so high, okay? And getting here, I'm not saying the data connection is bad or the Wi-Fi isn't good. I'm trying to say that it's not as easy as many people spoke about it. The thing was just like as if everything is on the floor, and that's the same expectations when people come into diaspora having, expecting that once I land in diaspora, I have a job. Once I land in diaspora, everything just sets. No, it is not true. This is not to discourage anybody, but to let you know that there are things you have to put in place for many of these things to work. Another expectation is once you travel out of the country, they pay your kids, they do this and they do that. Yes, they are true, but there are processes involved. These things don't just jump on you. So about the Wi-Fi that I mentioned, yes, there's Wi-Fi, but it didn't happen the way I expected it. So I had to buy a SIM card. I had to do some like we do in Nigeria. It's a token, okay? It's not cheap. It's not cheap, so I had to pay for it. And the only difference between here and over there in our country is that data connection here is more stable compared to our country. And about the benefits for children, there are processes involved. Not even everybody is qualified. In some countries, the processes are more complicated than the other. It depends on what country you are in. Not just me. I've heard some of my friends tell me that, oh, they had great expectations traveling out. Heaven is the only perfect place. Here on earth, these countries we aspire to go to, they are still striving towards perfection. They are not perfect yet. So it is important that you manage your expectations so that you are not so disappointed. My next truth will be do your research. You just have to find out about the country you are going into, the kind of people there, if they are friendly, if they have a kind of language they speak, their way of life. It is important that you do your research ahead of time. I, for one, as an example, when we moved to Europe, we hadn't gotten information about landlords there, how they, respond to immigrants. The country I am in, which is Germany, we didn't find out about that. We just, came in and the man seemed nice and we're just cool with it. Then we had to leave the apartment and we had some damages in the house. The landlord was saying he had to spend huge amount of money for very minor damages. And by the time we were going to know what was up, we heard from friends around, landlords in Germany are this, they're that, they're this and that, you should do this, you should have done that, you should have done this. So it's important that you are informed. Do your research, adequate research about what country you're going into before you move. It is really very, very important. So the next thing I want to talk about is be sure of an accommodation. You know, I've heard some people say that it doesn't even really matter where they are going to, that the point is they need to just leave this country first. Like, that is not a good approach to living in the country. I know things are really bad in the country and we're all looking for an opportunity to leave the country, but it is important that before you leave your country, you're sure of an accommodation. In diaspora, what I found out is getting houses is really an issue. It's not even about your money. So it is important that you look for an accommodation even while you intend to lodge over at an hotel. And not just that accommodation is scarce, it is also expensive. If you're staying with a family or a friend, be sure that they're going to accommodate you and don't be stranded. A friend of mine was telling me of a lady who left the country for one of the European countries, and upon getting there, the person she was supposed to stay with just told her that, oh, I'm sorry, I won't be able to accommodate you. And that was how she got stranded and had to be begging total strangers for a space in their outlet and all of those stuff. So it is important that you're sure of an accommodation before you leave your country. My next point here would be that have some measure of cash flow. Oh God, this is the real deal. I cannot overemphasize the number of persons that have been victims to this, because like I mentioned earlier, most people are more into leaving the country at least first. You know, I don't want to leave the country and be stranded in another man's country where you don't have a family, where you don't have a friend yet, you don't even know anybody. You don't want to be, gosh, you don't want to be stranded. You don't want to know how many people are living on the streets, living under the bridge, living in very strange places. So it is important that you have some measure of cash flow when you're coming, because right here you pay for everything. You pay for everything. The only thing you're not paying for is your breath. And this still talking about your expectations. When you have expectations that, oh, I just need little money, once I get it, I'm going to get a job. I'm so sorry. Yeah, see, I'm so sorry. Jobs are scarce everywhere. So give yourself some kind of limit, some kind of space to settle in and get a job. Maybe a period of 3 months or more. Have at least quite enough to sustain, or a mini source of income for the meantime from your country, that you're not shutting down while you're looking forward to getting a job, so that you're not stranded. So it is important that you have some measure of cash flow before you relocate abroad. My sixth point would be that in the diaspora, especially when you're newly here, there's usually a lack of community, which is one of the things I felt when I came here, because of course you're leaving all the people you know, the environment you're used to, the family you're used to, the friends you already have, and you're coming to a new place, and it's almost like you're just building a kind of relationship with people. And the temptation has always been that some persons jump into relationships and it didn't end well, and some persons, they started keeping to themselves and they fell into depression. In fact, I have heard of a number of stories of people falling into depression out of being lonely in the diaspora. Even if you travel down with your family, it will just be you, your husband, and your kid. Like it's not so much like, people used to think when you travel abroad, it is just, oh, you're from Nigeria, how are you? They just gel like that. It does not work like that here. People don't just gel with you just like that, because now the thing about here is that everyone is kind of fighting their battles. Everyone is kind of trying to get momentum and stability, get some money. There's this push towards striving, and particularly most people don't have your time, so everyone is busy. So there's really no time for community thing and all. Like, it's not so settled like, oh, everyone is relaxed. No, it's not like that. So if you plan on traveling very soon out of Nigeria, you must consider this and know that you have to brace up and be prepared, even if you don't have people around you, until you're able to make some community or have some measure of friends. My next point here would be that domestic workers are expensive. Unlike where we're coming from, you can easily get helps, you can easily get people to clean up for you and pay them quite a token. You don't have to spend much. But here in Europe, and I'm quite certain also many other countries, getting a domestic worker is expensive. You can have to pay a domestic worker up to 12 to 20 euro per hour, which is on the high side. It's on the high side. It is close to a normal job. Okay, it's just like you're employing someone doing a major job. Like, it is not minor, and it is hard to afford. Now, many people have families intend to travel abroad, and I tell you, it may not be that easy, especially if you are not used to doing these things yourself, because you literally do everything by yourself. You know, unlike while you were in your country, you could take your kids to your relatives, to your friends, to watch over there while you do certain things. Here, nobody, everyone is busy. You just have to handle yourself. I wanted to say it already. You just have to handle your life by yourself, everything. And for me, it was quite easy because myself and my husband, we are already used to doing that stuff ourselves together before we left the country. So traveling out of the country, it was not much of an issue that we maintain our house and take care of our kids. But for some persons, it is a struggle, especially if people run round the clock work, maybe 9 to 5, 9 to 5, and some persons run shift, and this creates a toll on the woman, and you just have to stay at home and look after the kid, or else who is going to do it for you? Sometimes when myself and my husband, we have appointments, we just make sure that we do not have appointments at the same time, because somebody has to stay with the kid. A friend of mine was talking about how she visited one of her aunts. She's a single mom. She was all busy, you know, trying to make money, and the kids, they were just all by themselves, and you know, the training isn't there, the good upbringing isn't there. So it's just important that when you're traveling abroad, just know that either yourself or your spouse would have to stay and take care of your kid, except you have a good job that pays you much and you can afford to pay a domestic worker. But if not, you have to do it yourself. So you have to be prepared for such things. So my end truth here is going to be that be ready to do things right here. If you're thinking of traveling outside your country, after a while living abroad, you know, it will, you may just start feeling like these people, their own is too much. Everything has to be done like this, this one has to be done like this. But in the real sense of it, it is these things they've put in place that have made their environment quite sane for us to want to come to. Okay, so you know, back in Nigeria, we are used to doing things wrong. We are used to doing shortcuts. Like we are used to, if they're telling you to do things this way, many of us go the other way. Nigerians, you know what we do? We citizens even, we do things as we please. But traveling out of Nigeria, you don't cross until the light says go, even if any car is not coming. Be ready to cross when there's a signal that you can cross. You can't drive without license, and the license has to be acceptable in whatever country you are in. You can't just do things anyhow. I mean, you just have to do things right. Of course, there are some persons that disobey, but there is a limited extent to which you can just do things the wrong way. So coming into diaspora, begin to get prepared that doing the right things will become your norm. Because coming here doing the wrong things was already my norm. I didn't know until I had to talk to myself that, oh yeah, we have to do things the right way. So that's the way to scale. So going to my 9th truth, be aware of your environment, because yeah, they communicate via emails. You have to check your post box. You just have to be informed. You can't ignore your mails. So you cannot overlook a letter and say, oh, it's just a letter. You have to go through all your mails. You have to go through all your letters. Every house here, I don't know of other countries. Where I am in Germany, most houses have a post letter box where letters are dropped for you from time to time. So you check it constantly and be sure that, oh, I don't have an information, or you be sure that, oh, I have an information. You just have to keep close check on your mails. You have to keep close check on your post boxes, so that some information don't pass you by. You just have to be alert, like really, so that you don't miss out on some things, and so that, because guys, let me not lie to you here. You know the year come, like go there the year. When Oimo don't tell you not like this, I didn't know, it's not an excuse. Oh, I'm sorry. Nobody's here, I'm sorry. You have to do the right thing, and don't help you. The information you miss as a penalty, you have to pay. So you just have to be on your toes, be alert, be aware, know what is happening in your environment. One of the things I do since I came here is I quite observe. I look around. You look around in the buses, you know where you should sit and where you should not sit on the bus. There's some places for pregnant women. There's some places for people with wheelchair, or for strollers for kids. You don't just do things anyhow. Sometimes you will call to order, no, you don't do that. No, you don't do that. So it's very important that if you're planning to travel out of the country, upon landing here, be aware of your environment. You have to be very vigilant so that you won't have problems. So to my last point here, okay, so this point, this is my 10th truth, and this truth will be for Christians who intend to relocate out of Nigeria into other countries. In our country, it's a more spiritual environment. I am not saying here it isn't, but you know what I'm saying. In Nigeria, it is not so hard to find a place where there are true worshippers. But in diaspora, you have to carefully choose an environment of worship, because definitely you want a place where their values align with yours. You want a place where you'll be welcome. You want a place where there'll be uniformity in the belief system. I mean, you want a serene environment. You want a good mental health. You want to be able to have an healthy community. You know, like a friend of mine telling me about how she ended up in a church where she just joined because she felt there were more of Nigerians, but at the end of the day, the environment was quite toxic for her, and because she had committed herself, it was hard to detach, and it took her a while to finally detach, but at the end of the day, she's happier where she is now worshiping. So what I'm just trying to say is, it is important you prayerfully, and that you just take your time to find a good place of worship. I hope these 10 truths were truths enough for you. That's the first one, and I hope that they were helpful. This is not to discourage anybody or to make little of relocating abroad. I just wanted you guys to know the basic truths so that you are mentally and physically prepared. I hope you had fun, and I hope you learned a lot from this video. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please press that subscribe button, because we have a lot we're still gonna discuss. Make sure to like this video so that a lot of persons to get to see it, and make sure to comment down below, because I know some of you watching me already in diaspora. Please help those of us still back home so that they can be well informed and prepared before they come down here. All right guys, it was a nice time with you guys. I had fun filming this video, and I look forward to filming other videos like this. Please let me know in the comment section what kind of things you would have me talk about in my videos. And so guys, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you again. Have an awesome time. Bye. Already from Nigeria, myself and my country. Already from Nigeria.